Good evening. I'd like to welcome everyone to the Meditation Museum and thank you for joining us today. I see a number of familiar faces here, so that's good, and we appreciate your continued support. Today we're broadcasting on Facebook Live, so if you don't mind, if you'd like, could you please take out your phone and share the event so that your family and friends can also watch the program that we're going to have today. And you can use the hashtag Meditation Museum or Brahma Kumaris. Either one would be great. Um, Also, for some of our new guests today, in case you're not familiar with the Meditation Museum is operated by the Brahma Kumaris, which is a worldwide spiritual organization. We have 8,000 branches in 120 countries. And in this area, we have this location and also one in Tyson's Corner, Virginia, where we also offer classes and workshops on personal development as well. And you can find information about all of our events on our website, which is meditationmuseum.org. Today we have a wonderful program on the link of love with Sister Jenna, right here. Sister Jenna is the director and founder of the Meditation Museum. For those who may not be familiar with Sister, she serves as an evolutionary leader in conscious service to humanity, and she was also selected by Empower a Billion Women 2020 as one of 100 most influential leaders of 2015. And now, let's welcome Sister Jenna. Thank you.
Om Shanti. Thanks, Antonia. I think I'm coming down with a little bug this evening, so I might be sneezing unseasonably in the midst of some snippets of wisdom. Hope you won't mind. No need to run up and give me a napkin. I have a tissue. The show goes on. Life continues. It's life. There are ups and downs, ins and outs, but the soul is always okay. It's just the body that needs tuning up. Always remember that. The soul is okay. The body just needs tuning up. The problem is if the soul is attached to the body, then the soul starts to believe it's so bad that also I, the soul, am going to start to feel as bad as I think it is, only because of my attachment. I've shared this story before in the past about something that came in the news many years ago in California. And there was this dreadlocks, and it's not a stereotype or anything to do with any culture. But he unfortunately, he was coming out of his Rolls Royce, and a truck had come by and apparently hit the door of the car. And it was quite dramatic because when the car had taken off the door of his Rolls, his comment was, "Geez, my Rolex," because his hand was on the door. And I want you to think about that because it's a true story. So his hand was on the door, and when the truck came and smashed off the door went, and so did his arm. But his first thought was, my Rolex. I can only imagine how much that Rolex cost. Okay? So what that does when I hear stories like that, it makes me realize the intensity of the soul's identification and attachment to certain aspects of itself. So the more attached I am to my physical form or my physical identity, the more amplified is the interpretation. Right? And so when we go into reflection, or we start to ask ourselves the right questions, or we begin to take a stock on our lives, we really step inwards and begin to really sift through, really, who am I? What has become of me? Am I really the person that I want to be? or is this, or is this just a waste of my time and energy? So today's discussion and sharing is really about a power that we are all gifted with. It's a power that works quite easily when everybody does what I say. And it's an interesting power that we seek to emerge when nobody listens to a word I say. Or when things just don't go the way that I'm visualizing it in my head. I'm finding that for some reason this love isn't emerging at the time that it needs to. It seems to be real easy manifestation when things seem to be going my way. So am I really loving? If it's going my way, if you are speaking, I'm so glad you've got Facebook Live on. Touche, credit goes to you. If we really are loving individuals, when the person doesn't say what you want them to say, when they're not behaving the way you would wish them to behave, when perhaps the situation and the scenario isn't the way you perceive your joy can be nurtured, do you still love? I just really want us to go into that question. What happens to the love when it's not there? I'm married to you for 20 years. Why can't I love you yet? Or I thought I loved you. I loved you at the beginning, and after 5, 10 years, something changed. You didn't do anything wrong. I didn't do anything wrong. But for some reason, I don't feel the same. What happened to the love? But I look at someone on television, or I see somebody at work, and I'm getting all those feelings again, but I don't get it when I go home. Where's the love? What's going on? Interesting question, no? I can love my brother's mother-in-law, but I can't love my mother-in-law. That's always fascinating. But my brother's mother-in-law comes to me and tells me how horrid his mother-in-law is, and I think she's the sweetest thing next to sliced bread. It's quite a fascinating thing, isn't it? So what I wanted us to do today is actually to explore for ourselves a real deep, genuine conversation around love. Today it wasn't very easy to get away from all the intensity in the media, because you would just go on your Twitter or just something and all of a sudden you were getting these information. And I had so much empathy for journalists, because it's as if they've just surrendered to this energy that's existing, and there's no way out. That's just what they're breathing right now. I have no idea how they're surviving, or even how they sleep at nights. But with all of that going on, one of the things that I'm observing in the current narrative, where powers are concerned and lives are concerned, and a sense of betrayal, or a sense of being in a relationship perhaps not for all the right reasons, sticking in a relationship for years but not trusting the person in the relationship, and just protecting your skin. If in case anything comes up, I'll have some evidence against you. It was like for all those years you're in relationships with people, did you really use love in that relationship, or were you in those relationships with a motive? And it's almost as if there's this understanding that like attracts like. And so there's opposite attract opposite as well. But you do find that like attracts like. So if each and every one of us on the planet, if there are almost 8 billion of us on the planet, and we were born with the energy of love in us as babies, where is that love today? And the only reason why we cried was that we wanted our pampers changed, or we were hungry, or we were teething. So, we were crying or sending out a message to you. Something's not right, Mom. Something's not right, Grandma. Something's not right, Dad. So that you could get the attention to give me what I want as a baby, because I can't speak clearly to you. And that love is there. Every child you look at, it doesn't matter if they're born perfect, or there's a limb that's broken, or they're conjoined, or they can't see, or they can't hear. It doesn't matter. You look at that little baby at 8 pounds, it's like you're looking at God. It's like the sweetest thing you could ever see. And the energy of love is sitting inside. And they will only signal you when something's not right. Something's not right for them because they can't speak. So how many times in a day do you send out a signal that something's not right? How many times today did you look at a person and just had that look? How many times did you rush to get something done because someone else didn't do what they were supposed to do? How many times did you feel like the burden is on you and no one's doing what you are doing, and you're taking care of everything and you just see them walking around doing nothing significant? How many times do you complain in your mind wishing it was a little different? How often do you cry out in a day in your mind, asking for something else other than where you are? Signals, right? It's just a signal. We're just signaling to ourselves, I need care. I need some care here. I need some attention. And what the irony of all of this is that whether you're living with a relative, or you're living with a spouse, you're living with friends or roommates, you're spilling out something isn't feeling comfortable in the spirit. And the person comes back at you and spills back what you spilled out at them. Have you ever had that experience? It's like you're not feeling good, and then they come back and give you something that's not feeling good, and it just makes it even more. And it's almost as if we're all still little babies walking around in our lives, spilling out and just asking the other person, please, I just need you to listen. I just need you to help me in the kitchen. I just need you to give me some space. I just need you to take care of your responsibilities so it's less on me. I just need you to be on time. I just need you to take care of yourself. I have dreams too. So we get these thoughts in our heads, and these thoughts signal to the soul, something's not completely there yet for me. But I know with all my heart, love is my religion, and love is my base. I've seen mothers go through the greatest of challenges with their children, and they don't stop loving them because they love them so much. How can a mother love a child so unconditionally? They can be disappointed with the child's choices, but they don't stop loving them. And I don't know if it's because they carried that person for 6 months or 9 months in their womb, but it fascinates me that the mother can love the child despite whatever are the limitations in the child's personality or karmic energy, but the brother and the sister, maybe they don't love each other the same. The mother-in-law and the daughter-in-law, they don't love each other the same. The husband and the wife, they don't really love each other the same. So what makes the love of a mother different than the love of a couple? What do you think? Mothers can answer this quicker than anyone else. Please share. Yeah. Mm. That's So what do you think that is? What is that energy, and is it the interpretation of the story? Is it that we've been indoctrinated to think that when we become mothers we have to love our children, doesn't matter what they are? No, it's just natural. What is it? And can someone pass the mic, Issa? Could you pass the mic, because I know there are those listening in online. Can anyone else step up to the mic and share, because I think it's going to be a very important. The mic is right here, and then if we can just bring it in the front. Thank you so much. What do you think is that energy in a mother that makes her um, incapable of hating her child? She will be disappointed. She gets disappointed. She gets angry. But at the end of the day, the love just comes. What is it? Yeah, just if you could hold the mic for me. Just right here. They might have to come in the front. Please. Yeah, just the mic. We need the mic to be passed, yeah.
I guess it's just feminine energy. That's just what it is, and it's in everybody, men, women, but obviously in a woman, it's there also. So that's just.
I just
what
think
it is.
it's
That's
a
what it
feminine
embodies, I feel.
principle.
Yeah, I think it just embodies that.
They embody it. Very interesting answer. Any other responses to the question?
I have a son that I'm the biological mother of, and I've also adopted two daughters. And I can't say that it's different. It's the same unconditional love. And I haven't thought about it so much before, but I'm wondering if part of it is because they're so vulnerable and they depend entirely on you when they're young. And so that kind of bond is created.
So this is my daughter sitting next to me, and yes, I love her unconditionally. Um, she's going through some tough times, and I think I think my love is unconditional, but it's a profoundly selfish thing because there's a sense of shared destiny. It's like I cannot be if she cannot be. I cannot be happy if she cannot be happy. So it's like I think it's just the sense that everything else might fail, but we will still share something.
It's a shared destiny. Any other answers regarding the question? What is it about a mother? What is what is in her awareness that makes her capable of loving despite whatever a child will put her through? Princess? Attachment. Princess said attachment. Okay, good. And the brother in the back?
What I'm going to say doesn't address your question, but it's just my way of thinking. The way I see it, the love for a infant or a child is not a good standard or yardstick to compare with the love of an adult to another adult ought to be.
Okay.
I don't know that they're able to be the same.
Okay, all right. Anyone else?
What just came to me when I think of my daughter, I would give my life for her. There is nothing in my soul that I wouldn't do to ensure her happiness. And when I think of her, myself is I know this, you know, when you pour your love into your child, to me, when you create that type of bond, and it is, the energy is very profound, I'm just present to pure love. That's what I'm present to.
Thank you so much. I'd like to address the question, and thank you so much for everyone who shared this evening, because I think that it's really a very revealing question. That if I have the capability of loving another human being to the point that I can even put my life on hold for 18 years, I can compromise lots of things that I want to do for me and give love to this child who grows into an adult, who goes away to college and barely calls me. And even when they do call me, it's for laundry and food and money. And then the next call I get is, this is who I'm going to marry, and it wasn't anything near what I had planned for them to get married to. And I love them. It's like, So my question here to us is it possible for us to transfer that quality of awareness to each other? That's my point. Because there are people in the world, and we're all from some parent or the other. And can you honestly say you've done it exactly the way your parents wanted it to be done? And I know that we've got issues with family members, and we might say that our mother or father, really they were not the perfect example of what I wanted. Okay, let's put that aside. That's not the point. They did what they could. But when you become a parent, there's something in your awareness that gives you the capacity to love as much as you can. And so what happens to us when we mature, because that's the word here, we mature, but then the love gets less for one another. And we start to detach from our kids too at some point in time. But when we mature, the love changes, and it becomes very conditioned, and I'm very selective with who I choose to be with me. I'm very selective with who eats with me. I'm very selective as to how much time I give you permission to mess up. What happens to us? Where are we inside? What do you think is happening? Isn't that interesting?
child-related.
It's like the brother's question where he says that I
Yeah.
don't think the question was valid because a child is vulnerable and young, and how can we treat an adult in the same way? But I have to tell you that I have had the fortune of being in my yogic community, and the age group is from 5, 8, 20, 40, 60. Now Daddy Janki is 103. And we do act with each other with that spirit of innocence, but yet we're running a very large international body of thinking. And I wouldn't say that I was always like that. I will tell you that as I, the soul, started to deeply recognize and experience my true sense of self, it was easy for me to have a very innocent, pure-hearted relationship with everyone else. I've been in huge business settings and what you might call in the world, or what people in the world call today, really big hitters and important people. But I'm still playful and easygoing. It's okay. What do you want? And I think that it gets back to this whole notion about being in touch with the original innocence of the soul if we want to feel the depth of our love again as people. Because it makes no sense that you and I could have a child at 30 years old or 40 years old, and I can give that love purely, but I cannot give it to my spouse. That means that energy is sitting there. It's just the way I'm interpreting it. Am I only loving because this person seems helpless or vulnerable? So am I really loving, or is it attachment? And when it isn't attachment and I can love, then is love not just free-flowing? Love is love. It's the attachment that puts the conditions, doesn't it? But yet, as a mother, I can love you with attachment and it's unlimited. You see, it gets very complex, doesn't it? Right. So let's try to straighten it out tonight because I was thinking of it a lot today, and there are moments in your life where your love factor will be very strong. You will sit solid in the soul. You will govern, rule your life solid as a soul with loving qualities. And if you'd like to understand what it feels like when you are an embodied soul of love, I consider us to be in a state of that spirit of innocence that just welcomes everyone, that shares your life with everyone. And you won't even have to worry if you're giving too much or giving too little. It's as if love will know exactly when it's enough, and then it moves on. It doesn't have to keep clinging, possessing, controlling, directing, oppressing, suppressing. And all of those things we sometimes can use behind it and go, but I'd love you, so you have to hear what I'm telling you. And it's like, even though I'm loving this person, why doesn't it feel good when I say it? So I think there's a need for us to begin to investigate the real remembrance of what pure love feels like. And what I'd like us to try to explore tonight is, as you're sitting here with me, I'd like you to turn your attention behind your eyes where you, the diamond, sits, the soul. And I'd like you to find that one virtue, quality, that experience in you that you value, that you treasure. And it might be hard to even find it, but it's there. Like, I treasure my ability to be a problem solver. Like I really treasure that quality. It gives me great strength. What is that thing in you that you treasure? And starting from that quality or that virtue, how can you bring that forth more? To pull more qualities and virtues with you. I raise these questions because every time I come into the meditation museum, I will pause and I will look at the images and the statues. I come into this space and I feel the sacredness. And I know that's what love does. It makes you very present. And what love will not allow you to do is to take the good things in your life for granted. It will always show up and be present. And love will always be grateful. And the more grateful that we are, the more love will increase. So what is it that we're taking for granted that's in our lives today? Think about it. The energy of God is so close to us that we forget that energy the most, and we remember everyone else. It intrigues me. And there's an exhibit that's my favorite. It's the Man Manabhav one. And I want to read it to you because it means a lot to me. When I first came to DC, I did this event, one of the 20 projects that we did in the city. And it was that time during the anthrax and the sniper shooting, remember that? And we had this artist design this whole concept whereby, and he has a fascinating story. He was living in the jungles of Australia with just a little cloth around his private parts. And he stayed in those jungles for a number of years, and he would just paint. He would just paint. And one of the images that he painted was something very similar to this. Because what he realized was that he really wasn't the body, but he was consciousness. But the question for him was, how do I bring my consciousness into life where it is balanced and responsible? So he was a little bit imbalanced because you can't live in the jungles with a dhoti. And the story goes that when he first came back to the city, the first noise he heard was a muffler in a truck. And he said it was the most violent sound he'd ever heard in his life. How often do you and I hear noises on the streets and it's so normal? So I wonder, has love become like that for us? That we're not even used to the fragrance of the experience anymore in the soul, but we've gotten so used to a compromised form of love, a love with attachment, a love with conditions, that we're not even aware that there's another way to love. I leave that for you to ponder on. And in this reading, it's about the soul getting a very gentle whisper of love to awaken the soul when it has a connection to Source. And so Source says, basically, you called me by many names. You called me Shiva, Jehovah, God, Allah. You've built so many temples and churches for me. You searched for me on pilgrimages and on mountains. But did you see me? You couldn't see me with those eyes. My form is different than yours in the physical realm. My form is a divine, subtle light like a shining star. I reside in the world of consciousness far beyond this material universe. And you too used to be with me. You too were in this supreme abode of peace and silence. Your form is also like mine. When you are true, you are divine, subtle, eternal, like a star. You are a soul, and every single soul on the planet is an actor. You are playing out your part through the body in this unlimited drama, and change is inevitable. So there is no need for you to be attached to anyone or anything. After playing out so many parts, you forgot who you truly are. But you also forgot me, and you forgot where you came from. I have now come into this drama. I've come to liberate you from the strings of illusions, but I've also come to liberate you from your attachments of those illusions. God whispering in our ear. I just think that's one of the most powerful things I've come across. Doesn't that give you chills? And I passed by that exhibit on the wall, and I will stop and I will read a few lines, and I will feel within my own being, Jen, I really have to get back to that place. And the way for us to get back to that place is to consistently practice remembering where I've come from and who I am. The thing is that people, and also us included, ourselves, we're so caught up in this vortex of forgetfulness, and everyone is in the same pot of awareness, so it feels so normal, so natural. And so why it takes a little bit of courage and a lot of determination and consistency is that when we're in our silence, we can feel it. That I've got a lot more to give. There's a lot more in me. There's a lot more to receive, and there's a lot more to give. So just for a little moment, I'd like if you could find the person next to you and share a love story. And what I mean by sharing a love story, that moment when you really, really remembered that this it was really you. Like you were really spot on. This is how you'd like to be 24/7. I know, now you've got to dig, right? Isn't that interesting? Like I could see the homework assignment starting, like, where do I go? Okay, where was my last homework assignment, right? No animals included. So just speak to the person next to you and share that love story. When was that moment for you where you really felt that this is how I want to be for a long time? You have 5 minutes. Please share. And you can be 3 to a group, 2, it doesn't matter. Just share. anniversary. That was a love moment. I will ask them. Yes. Thank you, everyone. So give another minute or so. All right, one more minute. One more minute. Counting down. There's something so delightful when we share our stories with one another. You know? We learn a lot when we share. All right. All right, so that's enough love in the room. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. All right, let's get back to the room. All right, thank you. You see, that wasn't as hard as you thought it would have been, right? Because one of the unique things about remembering your love moments is that you remembered how it made you feel. And in your remembering how it made you feel, you felt so alive. And that life was your conviction that this is how I'm supposed to be living. I know this is the way I'm supposed to be feeling. So what I would love is to get some stories of love stories that you heard that touched you. What did you hear from someone that you just really would like to share with the audience? Please, the mic's available. You want to share? Oh, sure. Share your story.
Oh, sure. I so love the question. I had the privilege of being invited as a part of the U.S. delegation to go to Ghana. And I remember arriving at the airport and looking out, stepping off of the plane, looking at the sun and the mountains. And as I'm walking down the steps, like my body was lunging toward the ground. And when I got to the entrance, there's a carving of two men carrying water, and there's a translation, something like "Welcome Home." And I literally could not stop my body from just collapsing and weeping. And I felt such a profound connection in being in Africa, and spent several weeks in a small village, the Kanko village, teaching 250 little children from little ones to high school. And every day, in being with the children, I experienced the greatest love that I've ever encountered. In interacting with them, they would break out in song in the middle of the class, and they say, "Madam Angela, you love us so much." I said, "I do," and I would just start weeping, and they said, "We love you too." And like other teachers would come like, "Why are they singing to you?" And I just fell in love with those children. It was the most extraordinary, life-changing experience that I've ever had. I've never felt that level of community love. It was just profound and exquisite and just life-changing. Thank
Anyone
you.
else, please share one or two more love stories.
Well, what I heard, is a lot about the things that we create and what we can take our connection from God and put it into our creation. So Princess, of course, is always so profound, and she says that she walks in love, and everything that she does, everything that she creates, every moment, she tries to seep in love, and that is very true of her. But it is about our connection with God and how we can harness that connection and then give it back to the world.
So much for sharing that. One more story. Come on, any guys in the room? There's no love from the brothers, man? Come on. James, give me a little love. Come on. All right.
Um, for me, it's kind of been a long journey. So my first memory would be I was actually about 24-ish, and I had started reading a book, and I was in college, but I would read this book about 2 in the morning, and it was just that quiet peace. And that's kind of what I've always been trying to get back to when I come into a space like this, that quiet peace. And, I have to tell you a whole lot more about how I was raised and all that to kind of explain that. But that peaceful, loving space is kind of what I've been trying to get back to.
Thank you. Thank you so much. His last name is Best, which I love. Thank you for participating in that exercise. The reason why I thought it was important is that the memory and the recording of real love is sitting in every one of us. And if we can only try in a day to remember our most loving moments, we will be able to activate and put more power in this natural energy of love that is inside of the soul. Another thing that that has been brought to my attention from our conversation tonight is many of us actually felt that we had the permission to love when we were in the face of innocence or purity. And I found that to be very provocative. That we felt more safe to love if I was with children or if I was with a baby. And so what's happening to all of us as we mature as people, that we're not feeling that safety as much. We're a little bit more cautionary. We're stepping on eggshells with one another. So that might be signaling to us that there's something going on at a soul level. So in some way or the other, maybe our souls have moved away from our real experience, our real sense of self. And a lot of times when we hold on to the stories of the trauma and the pain and the disappointment and the ridicule and the defamation and the criticisms and the complaints, those stories are removing me more from the energy of love. And if they're filling themselves up in my consciousness, then imagine how love is just trying to find some kind of a crack somewhere just to come out, to be itself. So we have these little moments, I've fallen in love here with you, then I meet someone else, I fall in love with you, then you do something else and I realize I really don't love you, I really love that one. And then that happened, and then you realize, but this isn't love anyway in the first place. I wouldn't be going through this roller coaster of emotions if I was in my power of love. A lot of people might say to us as yogis is, how do you stay without being in a relationship, not being married, not having kids? I was like, I don't know, maybe we're so busy the thought never came to mind. But the soul, once you're feeling the energy of that divine, it's as if there's just a source of vibration. It's feeding you. It's feeding you at a supreme level. And so everyone is a part of you, not just your child anymore. What you're going through, I feel it too. The fact that you felt betrayed by me, I feel betrayed by me. The fact that you weren't truthful to me, I don't feel truthful to me. And I think that if we're all able to begin to see through each other, see the soul of each other, and to go back into that part of us that we were all children, and we all have the power of the innocence, and we all have love sitting there, perhaps we could shift the ability to love a little bit more one another. People have asked me in terms of the current political climate, which I had struggled with 2 years ago. It was a very open conversation for me, not because of the politics, but because of the betrayal of my humanity just in general. Because my whole life is about taking care of humanity. And so I guess I was hoping that our humanity would have just been able to galvanize in a way that we would find some kind of a common ground. And I know that the times that we're in are so ideal for doing what we're doing, for waking up to love, to being honest with ourselves, to throwing all of us up in the air because certain things aren't working anymore, and let them fall where they need to fall, and let me catch what I need to catch, to take with me now. I think we've gotten enough experience by now. We know what's working, and we know what's not. And don't go to what's not working and expect it to work while you're still doing the same things, while you're still thinking the same way. And if you keep expecting that person or situation to change, but you're not making any changes, you're setting yourself up for suffering. And if you set yourself up for suffering, the love's going to reduce. And I don't think we deserve that anymore. There's way too much wisdom out there now for us to be able to catch a hold in ourselves. So what? He doesn't talk to me the way he used to talk to me 20 years ago. And what happened? Start to have conversations. Be honest. Do you really love this person for who they have become? Are you willing to give it time to work it through and go, what happened to us? Just keep finding the moments until it can trigger back in. What's going on with us? We never spoke this way to each other. You know, when you invest, especially for Indian families, we invest a lot in our children. Not only do we start to save for their education from the moment they're born, we expect all of our children to become doctors, lawyers, or engineers, nothing less. Right? I had a wonderful conversation with, you've got to listen to this artist. He's a Grammy Award winner. The show's going to be released soon. His name is Ricky Cage. I don't know if anyone has ever heard of him. The most profound musician. And Ricky shared with me on the radio today his story about going to school for dentistry. And he realized, I don't want to be a dentist, I want to be a musician. And he's from Bangalore and he's from India, and the father's like, not on my dead body. You are going to get that degree and then you can play as much music as you want. And he knew in all of his heart, he studied dental surgery, and he said he did his 6 years and he knew he wasn't going to be a dentist. Can you imagine this kind of a commitment and loyalty to family? That's a different kind of love. You see what I'm saying? And the child says, okay, Dad, but you promise me when I get my medical license as a surgeon, you will not bother me when I want to go and play music. And the father says, you can do whatever you want after that. And he did. Isn't that a great story? So it's his love and respect for his father and his father's respect and love for his child, because he gave him what he wanted and he moved on. He now only does music. He doesn't do medicine. It's a profound story. But it's as if when you think about the depth of love, what it can do, if you apply it, it can do wonders. So I was telling Ricky, I says, Ricky, trust me, if I was your parent, I would say the same thing to you too, because being a musician isn't always a very secure income. And so at least I think where your dad was thinking is if music doesn't work for you, you could always go back to being a surgeon. And so, again, the love of a parent, looking out for the well-being of the child. It's a great story. So listen to America Meditating Radio either tomorrow or the day after tomorrow. You'll hear the interview. Fantastic, fantastic young man. Fantastic young man. So with that said, we're going to move into our special program on love, because until you and I practice to look beyond each other's skin, it's not easy for the 24/7 people that we live with. But we have to try. And we have to look beyond the skin, beyond the eyes, beyond the story of the person, and go back to their days of innocence. when you could actually love your spouse or your in-law the way that mother would love that child. And that's when we're tapping into the love that we are. It will help us to tap into the love that we are. A lot of us are still struggling on loving God. Some of us don't believe in it. So I always say, just add another O. That's what God is. It's just good energy. So it doesn't matter if you accept the energy of it or not. But you've got to accept good in your life. And if you don't accept good in your life, I would question, there's something going on with you. Because even if there's a resistance to the word God, that resistance is saying at that moment you're not good. Because there are a lot of people that accept God, so what are you saying? You deny them their right to believe in what they want to believe in? Go, I love you. Do your thing. I don't believe in God, but I do believe in good. But those feelings should stay the same. Isn't that interesting? So to what extent can we look beyond the deficiencies of each other's character and go to the core of that person? One of the greatest virtues needed in the 21st century is humility. That if we humble ourselves, love will find a way through. And the more we can humble ourselves, the more that love will find its way. And so I think that when we do humble ourselves, we basically let go of the limited attachments that we carry about ourselves and each other. So this was my story and message for today. We're going to go into the ceremony of Raksha Bandhan, which is the tying of a sacred thread on the right wrist.